you've all seen those book covers for fairy tale retellings that are a little too close to the Disney characters. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen the Beauty and the Beast retellings with the big golden yellow gown. You've seen the very, very similar Little Mermaid retelling covers. But are we legally allowed to do this, or could we potentially be getting ourselves into a world of trouble for being too close to Disney, especially knowing that Disney is going to protect their IP in very, very strong ways? Let's talk to everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer, Tony, to find out more.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
When it comes to book covers, Tony, how similar are we allowed to get to Disney princesses? For example, if we're writing a Beauty and the Beast retelling, is it going to be legally okay for us to have a character in a yellow gown in our Beauty and the Beast retelling?
So I think it's important to note that it's probably going to depend on a variety of different circumstances, but we have to remember that these Disney princess characters are protected under copyright law. We've talked about it before, a bunch of different videos, but copyright is an original work of authorship fixed in a tangible medium of expression. And so if Disney has illustrated Belle to be, wearing a specific type of dress, the iconic yellow gown from the dance scene in Beauty and the Beast, or if, let's say, Ariel in Little Mermaid is, red hair with the green mermaid tail, that's their depiction of Ariel. That's their depiction of Belle. If you wanted to do a retelling of those characters, or maybe any other Disney character that is based off a public domain story, then you just have to be conscious of whether or not your rendition of those characters on a book cover is going to bear a lot of similarity to the original that Disney created. Now, I think the difference between, let's say, an animation versus, let's say, a model that is dressed in the yellow gown is obviously, inherently there, right? The three-dimensional model versus a 2D animated model. There is some difference there. But I think one of the things that's part of the copyright infringement test under the analysis of copyright infringement, rather, that's assessed and looked at is the prong related to substantial similarity. How substantially similar is the infringing work to the original work? And so what often comes up is an analysis from an extrinsic versus an intrinsic test of the infringement. Intrinsic, looking at specific elements that would specifically trigger a copyright infringement claim, versus an extrinsic test that looks more of the big picture point of view. You look at the work collectively as a larger whole. So I think that if you were to do, a model, find a stock photo of a model that is dressed in a gown and you touch it up in yellow, then yeah, maybe you have something that could be viewed from an extrinsic point of view as being substantially similar. So I think the given here is err on the side of caution, especially since we all know that Disney can be quite litigious. You just probably want to touch up the gown a little bit. Maybe instead of go for yellow, maybe go for a nice, maroon red. It's still glamorous. It's still, I think, evoking the message quite well. If you're going for, let's say, a Little Mermaid retelling, kind of the same story again. Maybe don't give Ariel red hair. Maybe give her, blonde bombshell hair, whatever. All that to say, I think that you have to be conscious of that kind of thing. And I think it's really going to boil down to how you assess the substantial similarity problem. Now, obviously, I think two things to kind of round this out. One, substantial similarity is more of a subjective analysis versus an objective analysis. So it's really going to depend on what one party thinks versus another, what even a trier of fact would think. So would a judge or a jury can agree with you on your assessment of substantial similarity? That's going to be kind of, a bit of a smoking gun in this analysis. And number two, don't rely on your own knowledge of substantial similarity. Go to a lawyer who has experience in copyright infringement claims and has even broader understanding of copyright law to help you with this analysis of substantial similarity. Because again, to you, maybe you don't see the evidence of substantial similarity, but through a legal lens, there might be something a bit different that triggers a different type of analysis, and thus a lawyer's help would be very handy in that type of assessment. So working with a lawyer, especially a publishing lawyer, if that's one of your fears when you're working on a book, is something that's going to be very, very vital to the process.
And of course, if we do get some type of notice from Disney that we are too similar, what steps should we be taking to make sure that we are legally protected within that?
So obviously, first things first is to go to a lawyer the moment you do get any letter from Disney. I think we know all too many times when you get a cease and desist, it's very easy to ignore. But the worst thing you could do is ignore that correspondence, any correspondence for that matter, but certainly a cease and desist that's coming from a major media corporation. And then I think supplemental to that, addressing those concerns that are raised in the cease and desist, working with the lawyer to really lay out if you are willing to comply with the request, or is this something that you're willing to shell out in full litigation? And that's the other aspect to this whole discussion. If you feel like your cease and desist, the cease and desist that you get is unwarranted and you feel like you have good legal ground to stand on, hey, if you feel like you are willing to fight it out in court, go for it. But I think at the end of the day, it's all going to boil down to whether or not you do have a viable cause of action to fight even in the first place. So working with a lawyer is going to be a very, very essential process, no matter what type of correspondence you get. But I think helping create that game plan with your lawyer is going to be an imperative part of the process.
And if you already have a book cover out that you're a little bit worried about, might be time to check in with your lawyer, or just straight up redo your cover, have that cover makeover, and market it to your benefit to make sure that you are staying in good legal standing within the publishing industry and the legal system in general. If you've got questions on this, go ahead and drop it down below. And as always, Tony is coming back for more episodes. We want to make sure we're getting your questions answered. So now is the time to let us know. And you can find Tony on his social media as well. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast called End Scene, with new episodes dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hit that subscribe and notification bell, because every single day we are dropping new videos to help you navigate the world of publishing so that this can be your most profitable year ever. We are going to make sure that you are legally protected inside of this space. So if you've got questions for Tony, send those on in. And if you've got questions for me on writing, on publishing, on marketing, on tech and gear that's going to save you time and effort, now is the time. We've got some incredible episodes planned for the next couple of days. You do not want to miss them. So follow along for more. Let us know where you're struggling, where your fears and frustrations are, or what you just want to learn a little bit more about so that we can continue to bring you content that is going to help you be more profitable inside of this space. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.